Welcome to GODSpeed, where truth meets life in under 10 minutes. I'm AK, and this is hope for your journey.
Have you ever opened your bank account and feel that weird feeling in your stomach? Maybe it comes like a slow headache for you. The bills are due, something unexpected just broke, and there's too much month for the money. Or maybe you're looking at your calendar and there's too many work hours or none at all. Maybe you're emotionally drained, still trying to show up for people, but your tank is on empty. We've all been here. The moment when what you have doesn't match what you need. And I know you don't have as much as you want. There's not enough in your reserves for this to be easy, but my only question is, have you tried using what little you have? Today we meet a woman in distress. Her life has been turned upside down by loss. Her husband has died. And while she's facing this grief, she's forced to think about her very life because her family is being threatened due to debt. She can't even see a way forward. So she goes to Elijah, a wise and spiritual leader in the community, for counsel. And this is where we'll jump in. This comes from 2 Kings chapter 4, verses 1 through 7. The wife of a man from the company of the prophets cried out to Elijah, "Your servant, my husband, is dead, and you know that he revered the Lord. But now his creditor is coming to take my 2 boys as his slaves." Elisha replied to her, "How can I help you? Tell me, what do you have in your house?" "Your servant has nothing there at all," she said, "except a small jar of olive oil." Elisha said, "Go around and ask all your neighbors for empty jars. Don't ask for just a few. Then go inside and shut the door behind you and your sons. Pour oil into all the jars, and as each is filled, put it to one side." She left him and shut the door behind her and her sons. They brought the jars to her, and she kept pouring. When all the jars were full, she said to her son, "Bring me another one." But he replied, "There is not a jar left." Then the oil stopped flowing. She went and told the man of God, and he said, "Go, sell the oil and pay your debts. You and your sons can live on what is left." No situation, no matter how difficult or how dim, is without hope. But faith does require we take action with what little we have. So I want to look at 3 truths from this story that can change how we face lack or not having enough resources. The first is that provision isn't purely from self-reliance. The widow's first response is what most of us would say: "I have nothing." And in her mind, she really didn't. One small jar of oil wasn't going to be enough to pay off the debt or save her sons. It wasn't enough at all. But Elisha, when he asked, he said, "What do you have in your house?" Not what you wish you had, not what you used to have. What do you actually have right now? He's grounding her in reality that she still has something. One small jar of oil, that's it, but it was something. And here's what you and I miss when we're in crisis. We focus so much on what we lack that we forget to use exactly what we have. We wait for the perfect opportunity, ideal circumstances, and in the waiting, we don't use the small thing that's already within our reach. The miracle doesn't start with abundance. It starts with obedience to use what's there. Provision isn't purely about self-reliance and what you have. It's not pull yourself up by your bootstraps, figure it out on your own. But it does ask for you to start with what you have, trusting that by faith and perseverance and persistence, it can multiply. I think about this moment when I was just out of college and starting my first job. Sitting in a near empty duplex, my small paycheck was saying no way to everything I thought I needed to make this place livable. So I started with what I had, the leftover furniture from college that was salvageable, a futon, a few dishes, the basics. And then I watched something beautiful happen. Friends from church offered up things I needed. Coworkers would give generously. My parents helped to set me up in ways I couldn't even afford on my own. Even people on Facebook Marketplace were making deals with me and delivering for free. The little I had was only a starting point. Provision came through community in ways I would have never anticipated. Next, to get more, you have to pour. A part of the story that's easy to write off. The oil didn't multiply in the jar. It multiplied as she poured it out. Elisha told her to collect empty jars and then pour. As long as she kept pouring, the oil kept flowing. Only when she ran out of jars did the oil stop. The miracle was directly connected to the action. She had to start pouring even when it didn't make sense, and to gather the first jar when she knew it would be empty after pouring from the first container. That's counterintuitive, isn't it? When you don't have much, your instinct is to hold on to it tightly, to protect what little you have. But God works differently. To get more, you have to pour out what you have. And this is more than just money. When you're low on time, pouring into someone else's need often clarifies your own priorities. When you're emotionally exhausted, offering encouragement to someone else can refill your own heart. When you're lacking resources, being generous with what you do have creates space for more. The widow had to trust that the oil wouldn't run out before she started pouring. She couldn't see how it would work. She just had to start and keep going. And finally, the blessing doesn't happen without empty containers. So here's the thing. The widow couldn't do this alone. Elisha told her to go around and ask her neighbors for empty jars and to not ask for a few. So when she had to go ask for help, she had to humble herself and let people know she needed something, not just 1 or 2 jars. She needed as many as possible. The size of her miracle was connected to the size of her neighborly request. And some of us are so afraid of asking for help that we reduce the size of our miracle. I feel like if I was in this story, I'd be the half-hearted asker, not really making the sincere try to gather the jars. And I know this is hard for a lot of us. We'd rather struggle alone than admit we need help. But the blessing doesn't happen without empty containers. The miracle required community. I've seen this play out in beautiful ways. Funding for projects that seemed impossible, surgeries that were too expensive for one person, but easily covered when many contributed. Needs met because people asked and others responded. What's heavy for the few becomes light for many. And the truth is, asking requires humility. You have to admit you can't do it alone, risk looking silly, and you have to ask without really knowing how it's going to work out. The widow didn't know if the oil would multiply when she collected those jars. She had to trust. And if you're in a season of lack, I'm not naive. Future provision doesn't make current hardship any less hard. But when you hold on to hope, God can take your small jar, that job, those savings, that idea, that charity, that business, and multiply it beyond what you could have imagined. But you have to start pouring. God, help me trust you so much that I pour out instead of holding back. Give me the perspective and humility to ask for help when I need it. Remind all your children that no situation is without hope when you're in it. Amen.
always love you how I do. Let go of a prayer for you. Just a sweet word